Yay, Uber time. It's going to be licious. Uber grace. Now, when the Roman government took over the running of this organism and started to run it and turn it into a religion, state-sponsored religion, then the people who were leading this, some of them got elevated to quite high positions and ended up having quite a lot of influence in what we're supposed to believe. Up until that point, I don't think it was really a thing. People believed slightly different things, and that was okay. Some of them went off beam a little bit, but, you know, we still accept them. But maybe we won't listen to them, you know, that kind of thing. But there were people like Augustine of Hippo. Great name. Hippo is an area just outside what is now the city of Algiers, because North Africa was once a big hotbed of this new movement, this organic movement of I am followers. And what happened was that all the temples were suddenly not being used because, well, church didn't use temples, and we've just made Christianity the religion. Right, okay, let's pile everyone into the temples and we'll meet once a week in these big temples. So suddenly the church went from this organic thing that broke bread and, you know, had lunch together, had a pack up together, that were praying with each other and just chatting about the apostles, preaching the word, devoted. Suddenly it became a state duty to attend one of the local temples, which were now a church. And they were now called churches, rather than it being just this called out mass of people living in their identity, their true identity. Then, of course, people were then, well, you working for the government, really, you need to look a bit better. So they started to bring in the people that were preaching. Suddenly they started to become professionals, because the old priests and stuff all had these professional preachers. The church was started by fishermen who would go on fishing, and then they would go back and do what they did wherever they did it. You know, Paul would make tents, and he would work hard all day making tents and selling them, and that's how he lived. But these people, suddenly we had a level of people in society that were the priests of this new Christian religion. And all the magistrates and the other officials of that level all wore robes, white cassocks, and they all looked rather nice and spiffing. So then these people suddenly become priests and suddenly start looking all spiffing in their robes. Real pagan origins to a lot of the stuff that we have now in the church. Another thing that happened was they didn't really have sermons. If you notice, Jesus in the 4 Gospels only gave 2 sermons. He was just chatting on the roads with people. He was having barbies with people and just talking. But back then it was all about, it suddenly became about orators. The Romans loved oratory, and they loved a fine speaker. So suddenly these people were trained in oratory, and they were using their gifts to orator, if that's a word. And they were preaching for the first, well, not the first time, but there wasn't a lot of it about. Even in Acts, there's only a few sermons amongst all the people that were mentioned in Acts, you know. So this became the regular weekly thing. They brought in choirs, and suddenly there's worship like this. A lot of things that we take for granted in the church today actually had an origin in the pagan system that was merged together with the Christianity. Now, let me say one more thing that's kind of interesting, is that all the Roman gods were the god of war, the god of travel, the god of this city, whatever, god of this country, this region. And so what happened was that all these venerated saints that we had were meshed together with all the gods. So suddenly you got like Saint Christopher, who was the patron saint of travellers. They would have had a god for one of them, and the church then got people to pray to the saints, because in the pagan system you prayed to the gods, and they merged all this together into one. And it brought out a very dark time for the church, because suddenly, from being revolutionary and counterculture, it became the thing to be. Hope that was helpful. have a fun time. Please share, and I'll be seeing you soon. Bye now.